Hey, welcome guys to the first video review of 2013. Actually, this is my first review I've done all year. So, anyway, I watched Texas Chainsaw 3D earlier today. I wish this year could have started off on a better foot, but unfortunately, this will not be a very positive review. And it's pretty sad because I was pretty hyped for this one. I'm a huge Leatherface fan. I own all the films. I actually had a marathon a couple of days ago for the last six films prior to this one, and maybe that was a bad idea because this film did not live up to the majority of the other films in the franchise. Um, Before I get into Texas Chainsaw 3D, I will pretty much talk about the other films. I think the first film, the Tobe Hooper classic from 1974, is an absolute classic. I think even today, it still creeps the fuck out of me. I think, that dinner scene at the end really is haunting. I mean, it's just disturbing. And the way it just ends is disturbing. I think it still holds up excellently today. And I think any horror fan who has not seen the original film needs to see it. It's very good. I also love the sequel, part two of what that Tobe Hooper directed. I think that film is also excellent. Unfortunately, it doesn't get as good as a rep as the first one. It's nowhere close to the first one. But I think it's because it's played out like a black comedy, and I actually like the black comedy aspect to the second one. Plus, how can you go wrong with Dennis Hopper holding dual chainsaws while gutting Leatherface with one of them? I mean, it's just awesome. Um, the third one, Leatherface, awesome trailer. The whole Excalibur spoof. That was my first theater experience to Leatherface. I think it's a decent film. Personal reasons, I enjoy probably more than I should, but I still dig it. The Next Generation with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger, absolute garbage, but it's entertaining garbage. And I hate the movie, but I will watch it just to laugh. If I need a good laugh, that's the movie to put on. And I also enjoyed the remake and the prequel. I think those two films get a bad rap because it's the whole remake stigma. But I think as a remake is actually not that bad. I think it's good, and I think the prequel is probably better. Um, just except that it's pointless. There's no reason for it to exist. But I enjoy those films, so I was really looking forward to Texas Chainsaw 3D. But unfortunately, things didn't go exactly as planned. So before I'd say why I'm not a big fan of the film, let's just go into what the film was about. So, Texas Chainsaw 3D markets itself as a direct sequel to the first film. And the first one, I mean the 1974 film. So, parts 2, parts 3, Next Generation, the remake, and the beginning, totally erased. It doesn't exist, and the only one that exists right now is the first one. And the opening credits are the greatest hits of the first one, and they're done in 3D. And I thought, the 3D didn't really add anything to those scenes, but I thought it was okay to see it in 3D. I never thought I would see that movie in 3D to begin with, so I thought it was okay. And then the film continues right after the ending of the original film. Um, Apparently, Sally, who was played by Marilyn Burns in that film, went to the cops, told them everything that happened to her and to her friends. Um, and the cops show up to the Sawyer house. And what happens is um, the father, Drayden Sawyer, not played here by Bill Moseley, who's taken over for Jim Sydow, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. Um, doesn't listen to the sheriff. He's pretty much saying that those teenagers invaded his property and he pretty much did what he had to do to protect his assets. So here is the beginning of the issues I have with this film. For one, in the original film, the only family members we see are Leatherface, the father Drayton, and the hitchhiker. Oh, and Grandpa. So there's four guys. In this film, you have those four same people, except for the hitchhiker because he died. But there's like 7 other people in the house. I'm like, where did these people even come from? I mean, I'm just like blown away. I'm like, I was watching, sitting there going, wait a minute. Who is this guy? Who is this other guy? Who is this woman with a baby? I mean, where did these people come from? Where were they hiding this whole time? Sally was screaming pretty much that whole night, and the baby never cried once. I mean, I just. It's a big plot hole. I think, it's one of those things that is there because it's convenient for the story to make sense. And honestly, if you're a fan of the original, I think you're gonna be probably feel slapped in the face that these other people are here. I mean, maybe there is more family than just those 4 individuals, but I think that should have been established in the original film, and it's not. And it just happens like suddenly these people are already in the house. It just makes no sense. So that was the first problem I had with the film. And by the way, one of the Sawyer family members that's introduced in this film at the beginning is actually played by Gunnar Hansen, who actually played Leatherface in the original film. So yeah, so this group of family members are in the house, guns and all, weapons and all, to protect themselves from the cops. And then we get this bunch of local guys. I guess they're called the good old boys. That's what they call themselves. And it kind of reminded me of the Devil's Rejects in a lot of ways, where these guys want to take care of the Sawyer family themselves since the cops won't do it. So these guys just grab their guns and shoot the shit out of the house. I mean, shoot the shit. Everybody's dead except for Leatherface, who's pretty much hiding in his that secret room he's in. And yeah, so it's kind of like, wow, totally different film than any other Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. And these guys also burned the house down. And the sheriff, named Hooper, which is a homage to Tobe Hooper, is pretty much against what the locals are doing, but the locals are pretty much, saying that they're doing this for justice and that, you can't go against the good book because it's an eye for an eye. So one of the locals that's part of the crew finds the female Sawyer and she's still holding the baby. And he takes the baby and he kills the Sawyer woman and gives the baby to his wife so they can raise it themselves. So that's pretty much the end of that original segment. So then we go into the present day. And here is pretty much where the biggest plot hole, because apparently we meet the baby, now grown up. Her name is Heather. I believe she's probably in her mid-20s. Yet, the story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre took place in 1973. And I believe the present day in this film is 2012. So that would pretty much be like 39 years. And she's only 26. So I'm wondering, when did this film even take place? Because I would have bought it if this was in the mid 90s. I would have totally been okay with that. Unfortunately, the gas prices are high. We see iPhones in the actual film, and the clothing and the music is all modern clothing, modern music. So the timeline here is absolutely shit. I mean, I was pretty much bugged out throughout the whole film. It kept nagging at me. I kept asking myself, when does the fuck does this film take place? I honestly couldn't tell you. I really don't know. All the dates, all the years were blocked, except for one with the grave for the Granny Sawyer. The date marks 2012, the year she died. So obviously it takes place in 2012. So I'm not sure what the filmmakers were thinking with this. I thought that this was a big messed up goof. I thought this was bad, and it really took me out of the film. I think a lot of the audience members I was with were like questioning when this film actually took place. Um, they may have not seen the original film, but they know exactly when that film came out. So I think that was a big flaw. So anyway, like I was saying, we meet Heather, played by Alexandra Daddario, beautiful girl, hottest 40-year-old girl I ever see in my life. Um, but anyway, yeah, she's working in a butcher shop. She's cutting meat, butchering meat, and you know, this is the baby all grown up, and all I could think of myself was, taking this hammer and slamming it in my head, because that's what you're doing to me right now. I get it. She's the baby grown up. You don't have to make her cut meat because, she's a Sawyer. That's just fucking ridiculous. Anyway, we meet her friends. You know, she has a slutty best friend. Her boyfriend, played by R&B singer Trey Songz. Um, the slutty girlfriend has a boyfriend. Blah blah blah. Anyway, she receives a notice from her late grandmother, who she never known about, that she received inheritance in Texas. So she goes to her parents, her adopted parents, the two local people that took her, and they pretty much tell her she was adopted and that, you know, they regret taking her in because she was more trouble than she was worth. And so, upset that she is, she decides she wants to go to Texas to see what this place looks like. So, her and her friend decide to go. Along the way, they pick up a hitchhiker and they take him along. You know, every Texas Chainsaw Massacre film is a hitchhiker. So, they go to the house. It's this huge mansion. I don't know where that came from, but anyway, they enjoy the place. And, you know, the first bad mistake the characters make, and which shows how stupid they are, is they leave the hitchhiker alone inside this mansion while they go out to buy stuff. And, you know, the hitchhiker, since he can be trusted, decides to steal the place. And this is where we find Leatherface, who's been hiding inside this room in the basement. And once he's free, we see pretty much the standard Texas Chainsaw Massacre film where Leatherface comes out, does not know who these people are in his house, and decides, hey, I'm gonna kill you, and you know, for food or whatever. So that's how the film plays out. So like I was saying, I really was looking forward to this film, but you know, it just ended up not satisfying me in the way I thought it would. I will say that it does have its moments. Let me just give out the positives right now. I thought, you know, the acting was decent. It was fine for what it was. You know, it's a slasher film. You know, you had the standard stereotypical characters. I thought each actor played the roles fine. Even Trey Songz, who isn't the greatest musician turned actor in the world, but I thought for what he had to do, which was pretty much staying with his shirt off and playing pool, he did it fine. Um, I did think Alexandra Daddario, who played Heather, was very good. I would love to see more of her in different films. I think, you know, she has a beauty to her. She looks like a young Tiffany Thiessen. Um, and I thought she carried the film pretty well. I think, you know, the material wasn't great, but I think she did make the most of it. Um, I really liked her. She was very likable. I really hope to see her more. Um, the 3D. I thought the 3D had moments. You know, I thought, you know, there's one scene in particular where Leatherface throws a chainsaw at the screen. I thought that was pretty damn good. Um, to the point where I had the glasses on, I had to go move back like this, like trying to avoid it. Um, and it's pretty much mainly like the chainsaw like flying to the screen, you know, kind of coming at you like that. Kind of remind me of like the Friday 13th Part 3 kind of deal. My Bloody Valentine 3D kind of had the same deal also. Um, it wasn't the greatest 3D I've seen in my life, but you know, it had its moments. I think it gave the film, the cinematography, a lot of depth. Um, but yeah, I thought it was okay. You know, would I pay extra for it? Probably not, knowing that it wasn't all that it could be. But I thought, you know, when it had its moments, and it really worked. When it was effective, it was really effective. Um, the direction, I thought the direction was actually not that bad. There were some moments of tension. And I thought, you know, the film wasn't scary at all, but at least the director was trying to, you know, create some sort of emotion. You know, there were jump scares that got some people in the audience. There were, you know, moments where the chase sequences were, which were actually, you know, pretty good. Um, you know, it plays out like a standard slasher film. You know, my only issue with the direction is maybe the tone of the film. I thought, you know, the film didn't know what it wanted to be. Um, you know, like I said, it's mainly a slasher film. Like the middle portion of the film plays out like a slasher film, but the opening and the ending of the film plays out like a revenge flick. You know, kind of remind me of the Those Rejects in a lot of ways, where you know you kind of have sympathy for the villains rather than for the heroes, which I thought was an interesting choice. I'm not sure it was the right choice. I really couldn't see myself being sympathetic to Leatherface. I mean, yeah, I like the character, but I don't want to root for him, you know? This guy is killing people to eat them, you know? he's torturing this girl in a dinner scene. I mean, it just seemed really odd. Am I supposed to hate this guy? Am I supposed to feel sorry for him? Am I supposed to be sorry for the family, the Sawyer family? I mean, it's just what the first film established. If this is supposed to be a continuation, a direct continuation of the first film, I think in that aspect it failed. I think, you're supposed to be scared of these people, not going, oh, I wish, that didn't happen to them. Oh, I feel so bad for Leatherface. I mean, it's just a little odd. Also, the cinematography is a little too polished for me. I get it's a modern film and it should look good, but I thought, in my mind, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre should always have some sort of grittiness to it. It shouldn't look. I don't want it to look the first one, like the documentary feel, but it should have some kind of dirtiness about it. Like the beginning. The beginning was what I liked about it is because it looked very grindhouse like to me. It was very 70s inspired. This one is not 70s inspired at all. Um, but yeah, besides that, the direction was fine. When it comes to the story, unfortunately, that's where Texas Chainsaw 3D falls apart. And the worst part about it is that it honestly had some interesting ideas. It really did. I thought, there's so much it could have done. There was so much potential in it, but it wasn't executed at all correctly. I think it had to do with 4 screenwriters working on the script, which right there, there's trouble. Um, I think the major potential that was there but wasn't executed right was this carnival scene. In the film, there's a carnival near the setting, and Heather runs into the carnival being chased by Leatherface. So you think, there's a whole bunch of people at this carnival. There's a guy with a chainsaw. What you think's gonna happen? The guy's gonna kill these people just to get to this one girl. Does that happen? No. And that's the problem. I thought, this could have been like a Freddy's Revenge sort of deal where Freddy was killing all those kids at that pool party, and it didn't happen here. It just was a lost opportunity. I was really looking forward to that scene because I saw it in the trailer and I was like, oh, that could be really cool. That's something totally different. Leatherface has never really gone in the open like that to kill people, and everybody just looking at him like, oh, there's a guy with a chainsaw. Okay, that's part of the show. Um, to be fair, though, there is a character that has a chainsaw that's part of the carnival, and he's dressed like the Saw pig, the pig from the Saw movies, which, again, dates the film to 2012. But I thought it was kind of funny, kind of clever to see the Saw pig having a chainsaw duel with Leatherface. I thought it was kind of amusing. Um, but yeah, that moment I thought could have been a lot better. There's a moment where the characters are cheating on each other. Heather's boyfriend is sleeping with the best friend, and that's never really followed through at all. I'm just wondering, what was the point of that? Why did this even have to happen? Are these characters supposed to be unlikable? Are we supposed to be rooting for Leatherface to begin with? So it just, I don't know, it just made no sense. And there are a lot of things that really make no sense, like how did the family know where Heather was this entire time, um, which is never explained. And just a lot of issues. It just had issues, and I just plot holes after plot hole after plot hole. The biggest one obviously being the timeline. Like I said, I just don't know when this film took place. I don't know if the filmmakers thought the original events took place in the 90s, but it was just a big mess. I thought the script was really the anchor that dropped this film. I think if there was a script doctor, someone who really came in to edit this film to really make it tight, it would have worked. And there's also a moment in the film that's kind of playing on the found footage stuff. You see the inside of the Leatherface mansion via an iPhone, um, which again kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the tone. What is this film trying to do? Is it trying to be a slasher film? Is it trying to be a revenge film? Is it trying to be a drama? Is it trying to be a family film? Is it trying to be a found footage film? I don't think the filmmakers knew exactly what they were doing here. So yeah, there was a lot of disappointment in this film. Texas Chainsaw 3D did not live up to the hype in my opinion. But it did have some things going for it. I did, like I said, I like the 3D, I like the acting, the direction was fine. Um, the gore by Greg Nicotero and KMB, I thought was very good. A lot of practical effects, some CGI, but I thought a lot of the gore was actually pretty good. Um, Especially one with the meat hook. I thought, I'm not gonna give away what happens, but I thought that was pretty cringeworthy. Um, but yeah, I thought, is it the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre film? No. The Next Generation still is the absolute worst. But this is not one of the better sequels. I think this had potential to be one of the better sequels, but unfortunately, there was just too much going against it. Um, and for those people who want to see this film, if you're a horror fan, if you love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're probably gonna watch it anyway. Um, just be advised, don't expect too much. I think I was expecting it to be not the greatest thing in the world, but at least a decent sequel. Because most of the sequels in the franchise are actually pretty good. Um, but this film was just mediocre. It's a standard generic slasher film that has identity crisis. Um, but yeah, would I buy this on DVD or Blu-ray? Probably, since I have the other ones. Would I watch a sequel if it's ever made? Absolutely. But I think this film could have been a lot better. Texas Chainsaw 3D, not the greatest first review that I wanted to do. I wanted to be more positive, but it is what it is. I thought it was an average film. I will give it probably a 2 out of 4. It's in the middle for me. It's just I didn't really come out of it thinking it was anything special. Um, but it's nice to see Leatherface on the big screen, no matter what condition he's in. But I think there's a lot of lost opportunity. This film was a theme on lost opportunity. There was a lot of great stuff in it that was never executed the right way. But hopefully it'll make money. I'm gonna support horror no matter what. I'm just glad it's not a found footage film. That's my greatest gift. It was an actual slasher film with slasher elements, and from the way it ends, I think the sequel could be good if done right. So that being said, that's my review for Texas Chainsaw 3D. I apologize for the babbling. This is unscripted. Usually when I do my reviews, they're scripted. So, but I just wanted to get my thoughts out real quick. And I hope to hear from you guys if you've seen it, if you're looking forward to seeing it. Um, Please comment, please like, please subscribe. Just love to hear what you guys think of the film, of the review itself. So, thank you for watching, and take care of yourselves. Later.